10,000 men wanted you dead. And for about 90 seconds, 4 rifles kept every one of them back. You had a fire team, a few magazines each, and whatever was left in your vests. 4 U.S. Navy SEALs dropped into a holy war 800 years before your country existed. The men in front of you had never seen a gun. They thought the thunder came from God, but a rifle only holds so many bullets. And the moment the last one ran dry, 10,000 men were going to decide what the 4 of you really were. You woke up in the dirt with a taste of copper in your mouth and your ears ringing. Behind you, the helicopter was still burning. That part your body understood. Everything else, it did not. The air was too hot and too still. No fuel smell in the wind, no road noise, no voice in your ear. Keyed your comms out of habit and got nothing back. Just static, then not even that. So you did what the training said. You found your team. 3 of them had walked out of the wreck. Your medic already had his kit open, checking each of you for holes. The gunner hauling the belt-fed machine gun that was worth 10 men in a fight. And the team leader, counting heads and counting weapons the way he always did, 4 men. That was the whole world now, 1 rifle each, a few magazines, a pistol, a blade. Vests that had already saved your lives more than once. Then you looked up and the sky was wrong. No power lines, no planes. In the distance, a walled city sat baking in the sun and a huge army sat outside it. Tents, horses, banners. Every weapon you could see was made of iron. You didn't know it yet, but you had come down outside Antioch and the year was 1098. That army below had been camped in the mud for 8 months and it was starving. 1 man in 7 was already dead. Not from battle, from hunger and disease. They had boiled their own shoe leather and eaten their horses to stay alive. Some had crept off into the dark and deserted rather than face 1 more week of it, and it was about to get worse for them. Within days, that city would finally fall, and then a second army, larger than the first, would seal them inside the walls they had just taken, trapped, starving, and certain the end of the world had come. That was the ground you dropped into, not a battle, a slow apocalypse with a cross flag flying over it. These were not soft men. They were desperate, hollow-eyed, and bone certain that God was watching every single thing they did. So when 4 figures climbed out of a burning metal beast, in strange armor, speaking a strange tongue, they did not see soldiers. They saw demons, spies sent by the enemy at their gates. A knight on horseback rode toward your team and shouted a word none of you knew. Your team leader raised his empty hands, slow, palms open. The knight drew his sword anyway, and behind him, a dozen more turned to look. You had 1 second to decide, and every choice was bad. So you did the one thing that kept the 4 of you breathing. Team leader called it, and you fired. To you, it was a handful of quick, aimed shots. To them, it was the end of the world. No arrow, no throw. Just a crack like the sky tearing open, and men going down who no one had touched. For 1 long moment, the 4 of you were gods of thunder. Front rank froze. Some dropped to their knees and prayed. That should have been your window to slip away. But here's the thing about a holy war. These men believed heaven was on their side. A demon that struck down the faithful didn't scare them off. It called them in. Weeks after this, these same starving men would dig a rusted spearhead out of the dirt, swear it was the spear that pierced Christ on the cross, and use it to charge an army twice their size, and win. That is who you were up against. Men who read the hand of God into everything. To them, you weren't a weapon. You were a sign, and a sign is worth dying for. The ones who broke didn't run away from you. They ran to bring everyone else. Horns went off across the whole camp, and 10,000 men who had nothing left to lose turned, all at once, and looked at 4. Started moving, and you started counting. Because that's the secret nobody tells you about soldiers like you. You were never bulletproof. You were the front end of a machine. Behind you, always, there was more ammo, clean water, a surgeon, a radio, a whole country ready to pull you out of a bad night. Here, that machine was gone, no resupply, no bird inbound. Every round you fired was a round you would never get back. Half your kit was already dead weight. The night vision, the laser sight, the radio strapped to your chest, with no power and no satellites, just extra pounds to carry. Even the land wanted you dead. This was the same country that had killed these crusaders by the 1,000, with nothing but heat and bad water. Thirst does not care how many rooms you have cleared, so you counted. Every trigger pull was a subtraction you could feel, a number ticking down toward the one you already dreaded. 0. Then your gunner took a bad one, an arrow, deep, in the soft gap above his vest. Your medic had him in seconds. That is what a SEAL Corps man does. He got his hands on the wound and started the work that had dragged 100 men back from worse. But the thing that saved those 100 men was never just the medic's hands. It was the helicopter, 20 minutes out. Surgeon already scrubbing in, but blood waiting on ice. None of that existed yet. Your medic knelt in the dirt of the 11th century, did everything exactly right, and it still wasn't enough. The first of you was gone, killed by a wound that, On any other night, one radio call would have saved. 3 left. Your team leader picked up the dead man's machine gun. For a while, it was enough. A belt-fed gun is a wall of noise and lead, and it stacked the Crusaders up in the open like nothing they had ever seen. That gun is the hungriest thing a fireteam carries. It eats ammunition faster than anything on that field, and there was no truck, no crate, no drop coming to feed it. You heard the belt go from a roar, to a stutter, to a single dry click. Just like that, the best weapon any of you had left was 9 pounds of steel you could only swing. Crusaders felt the thunder stop. They always did, and they poured back into the low ground, into the space where the gun used to be. Then you heard a different thunder, a low rolling drum that wasn't yours. Horses. A wall of them, lances lowered, iron and muscle at a dead run. These men had trained their whole lives for exactly this, the mounted charge, and there is no good answer to it on foot once your gun has gone quiet. You threw yourself out of its path. Your medic was a step too slow. The man who had spent the whole fight keeping everyone else alive went down with no one and nothing behind him to keep him alive. 2 of you now. Iron in front, a wall at your backs, and the sun not even halfway across the sky. You and your team leader put your backs together and took up their own weapons. Fallen swords, still warm. And then something happened that should have gotten you both killed, and instead kept you alive a little longer. The blade came down hard across your chest, full force, and it just skated off. Your plate carrier held. To them, that was proof. No sword could bite the demons, and for a few minutes, that fear bought you room. But medieval men had solved this exact problem centuries before either of you was born. They didn't kill an armored man by hacking at the armor. They found the gaps, and they learned fast. Vests covered your chest and your back. They did not cover your arms, or your necks, or your legs. One of them leveled a crossbow at you. That weapon was so deadly the church had once tried to ban it outright. Too cruel, they ruled, for Christians to aim at each other. It did not care what your vest was rated for. A needle-tipped arrow, built to punch through mail, found your team leader's thigh where there was no plate. A warhammer came down and cracked ribs straight through his vest. No cut needed, just the shock of it, the whole point of a hammer. And a man stepped in close and drove a narrow blade into the gap under his arm, calm and precise, the way they had been killing armored knights for 200 years. Slow. Patient. A craft. By now your arms had turned to lead and your mouth was full of sand, and there were always more of them than there was of you. The armor that made him a legend became a cage he couldn't run in, and then it was just you. That's the part people get wrong when they ask who would win. They picture one super soldier against a mob of guys in chainmail. But it was never one man, and it was never really about the men. It was 4 of the best trained soldiers alive, and even they were only the sharp end of a country that spent a fortune to put them there and pull them back out. Take away the ammo, the water, the medic's helicopter, the map, the radio, the ride home. What's left is 4 very good men, on foot, outnumbered 1,000 to 1, in armor that only covers half of them. The Crusades didn't beat a Navy SEAL fireteam. They beat men whose war had left without them. So the real question was never whether you could win. It was how long the last one lasts after the machine behind him goes quiet. And outside Antioch, in 1098, the answer was measured in minutes. Getting dropped into the ancient world is easy. Getting back out is the hard part. If you want to see it go the other way, a man with real power sent back to ancient Rome, that one's on the screen right now.